I quit college to follow my passion, and everyone thought I was mad. The lecture hall buzzed with the drone of a professor's voice, but all I heard was a different kind of music. My name is Ethan. I was 19, enrolled in a prestigious engineering program at Northwood University, in Boston, a path my parents had meticulously planned for me. My classmates scribbled notes, their faces etched with focus, but my mind was miles away, sketching designs for electric guitars on the margins of my textbook. My hands, meant for circuit diagrams, yearned for the feel of wood and wire. The weight of expectation was heavy, a suffocating blanket woven from years of parental sacrifice and societal pressure. But the pull of my passion, the quiet hum of an amplifier in my head, was louder. My parents, Eleanor and Robert Miller, both in their late 40s, had worked tirelessly, my father at a manufacturing plant, my mother as a nurse, to give me a life they never had. For them, engineering wasn't just a degree, it was a golden ticket, a guarantee of stability, respect, and a future free from the financial struggles they knew. Every success in my academic life, every high mark, every award, was met with their proud, beaming smiles, smiles that carried the unspoken weight of their sacrifices. But inside, I felt like a stranger to myself. The equations and theories felt cold, lifeless. My real joy came from tinkering in our garage, the one I'd claimed as my workshop. I loved the smell of sawdust, the feel of sandpaper, the meticulous process of shaping raw materials into something beautiful and functional. Specifically, electric guitars. I wasn't just interested in playing them, I was obsessed with building them, with understanding how every curve and component contributed to its sound, its soul. My best friend, Noah, also 19 and my roommate, was on the same engineering path, seemingly content. He'd find me late at night, hunched over my workbench, tiny tools scattered around intricate guitar necks. He'd just shake his head, a mix of amusement and concern in his eyes. "You should be studying for circuits, man," he'd mumble, then return to his own books. He didn't understand that my circuits were made of wood and copper. The breaking point came during midterm exams. I sat in the examination hall, the clock ticking loudly, the questions blurring on the paper. My mind was empty of the answers, but full of bridge designs, fret placements, and pickup wiring. I knew then, with a crushing certainty, that I couldn't do this anymore. This wasn't my life. This wasn't my dream. This was someone else's. Walking out of that exam felt like shedding a heavy skin. The decision to quit wasn't impulsive. It had been brewing for months, a silent battle within me. But saying it out loud, telling my parents, was the hardest thing I had ever done. I sat them down in our living room. My mother, always so gentle, listened with growing alarm. My father, usually stoic, grew visibly tense. When the words finally tumbled out, "I want to build guitars, full-time. I'm leaving Northwood," the silence that followed was deafening. My mother's eyes welled up with tears. "Ethan, what are you saying?" she whispered, her voice cracking. "All our hopes, for this." My father's face hardened. "This is madness," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "You throw away a future for a hobby. For toys." That conversation shattered something between us. They saw it as a betrayal, a reckless disregard for their sacrifices. They tried to reason with me, to plead, to guilt. My relatives, when they heard, were even worse. "Such a bright boy, completely crazy," my Aunt Carol clucked. "He'll end up struggling, just you wait," my Uncle Frank predicted. Noah, though supportive of my happiness, still looked at me with a bewildered expression. "Are you sure about this, man? It's a huge risk." Everyone thought I was mad. And maybe, in that moment, I was. But it was a madness I chose. Life after quitting college was a brutal reality check. The romantic notion of a struggling artist quickly gave way to the harsh truth of an unemployed young man in a bustling city. My workshop in the garage expanded, taking over more space, much to my mother's exasperation. The smell of wood glue, lacquer, and sawdust filled our home. I spent my days learning, experimenting, failing. My first few guitars were, well, let's just say they were learning experiences. The necks warped, the electronics buzzed, the finishes were uneven. Each failure was a punch to the gut, a quiet confirmation of everyone's doubts. But each failure also taught me something new, pushing me closer to perfection. Money was a constant stress. I took on odd jobs, delivering pizzas, helping a neighbor with repairs, anything to earn a few bucks for materials or to contribute to the household. My parents' disappointment was a heavy cloud over our home. My mother's once frequent smiles were replaced by worried glances. My father's silence was colder, heavier. They saw my struggle, but they didn't see the progress, the lessons learned from each mistake. They just saw a son who had thrown away a promising future for a pipe dream. Sleep became a luxury. I would work late into the night, sometimes until the sun rose over the Boston skyline, perfecting a fretboard, meticulously wiring pickups, sanding wood until it felt like silk. My hands were often raw, covered in small cuts and splinters. My back ached constantly, but the moment a guitar finally came together, the moment I plugged it in and heard a clean, resonant tone, it was pure magic. It was a fleeting taste of what I was fighting for. My first commission came from a local musician, a guitarist for a small band that played in pubs around Cambridge. His name was Jason, a man in his late 20s, a gentle soul with a passion for music. He'd heard about my tinkering from a mutual friend. He was skeptical, but he agreed to let me repair his old, battered guitar. I spent weeks on it, treating it like a precious artifact. When I returned it, not only was it perfectly repaired, but I had also upgraded some of its components, giving it a richer, fuller sound. Jason was blown away. He paid me what he could, but more importantly, he became my first advocate. He started telling other musicians about my work. Slowly, grudgingly, I started to get small repair jobs. Then, a bold request: could I build a custom guitar? It was for Chloe, a young, talented guitarist who wanted something unique. Her budget was tiny, but her vision was huge. I poured my heart and soul into that guitar. I worked day and night, sketching designs, sourcing exotic woods from a small timber yard in Lynn, carefully selecting every component. When Chloe played that guitar for the first time, her face lit up. She played a complex riff, and the sound filled my small garage workshop, rich and vibrant. "Ethan," she said, her voice filled with wonder, "this is incredible." That was my real payment. Her joy, her validation. She started performing with it, and soon, other musicians started asking, "Where did you get that guitar?" My name, Ethan, slowly began to circulate in the local music scene. It was a small, tight-knit community, and word of mouth was everything. I started an Instagram page, posting pictures of my work, the intricate details, the beautiful finishes. My following was tiny, but it was growing. My parents still worried, but the occasional payments from my work, however small, eased their concerns a little. They saw that I wasn't just wasting my time, I was actually doing something. I was now in my early 20s, still struggling, but with a growing sense of purpose. I realized I needed to move beyond just repairs and custom builds for local artists. I needed to create my own brand, guitars that carried my identity. I started developing a line of guitars, focusing on unique designs that blended classic American rock aesthetics with modern playability. I called my brand Resonance Guitars, a name that spoke of deep sound and the echoes of my dream. This meant more investment, more risk. I saved every dollar I earned, borrowed a small amount from a sympathetic relative who saw my dedication, and rented a slightly larger workshop in a commercial complex in Somerville. It was still small, but it felt like a palace. I invested in better tools, better materials. My days were a whirlwind of design, craftsmanship, and the never-ending pursuit of perfect tone. My parents, though still cautious, were slowly coming around. They'd visit my new workshop, their eyes widening at the sight of my growing collection of tools and the beautiful guitars taking shape. My mother would bring me homemade food, her way of showing support. My father, with a rare smile, would ask about the technical aspects, showing a genuine interest. Their acceptance, even if partial, was a huge relief. The big break came from an unexpected source. A renowned American rock band, the Renegades, was performing at a major music festival in Boston. Their lead guitarist, Marcus Stone, a legendary figure in the rock scene, was known for his distinctive sound. Chloe, the young guitarist I had built a custom guitar for, was now a rising star and a friend of Marcus's. She convinced him to try one of my Resonance guitars. Marcus was skeptical at first. He was used to high-end international brands. But when he picked up my guitar, he was surprised. He played a few chords, then a complex solo. His eyes, which had been dismissive, lit up with a spark of excitement. He loved the feel, the craftsmanship, the unique tone. He played it during his soundcheck for the festival. That night, at the festival, I stood in the crowd, a mix of nerves and excitement churning in my stomach. When Marcus stepped onto the stage, the roar of the crowd was deafening. And then, he played. He played an entire set with my Resonance guitar. The sound filled the arena, rich, powerful, unmistakable. My heart pounded with every note. After their final encore, Marcus held up my guitar to the cheering crowd. "This," he announced, his voice amplified across the massive grounds, "this is a Resonance guitar, made right here in Boston by Ethan. This man is a genius." The crowd roared even louder. The next day, my phone didn't stop ringing. Orders poured in from across the country, then from international buyers. My Instagram exploded. Music magazines wanted interviews. Suddenly, Resonance Guitars was a name everyone knew. I was a man in his late 20s, now a respected luthier, an entrepreneur whose passion had found its voice. My small workshop in Somerville was no longer big enough. I rented a much larger space, a proper factory really, in an industrial park just outside Boston. I hired skilled craftsmen, people who shared my passion for quality and sound. My team grew from a handful to dozens. We started producing more guitars, but always maintaining the meticulous craftsmanship that was my signature. My parents were overwhelmed, but beaming with pride. They finally saw that my madness had a method, that my pipe dream was now a thriving business. My father, who once called guitars toys, now proudly showed off my instruments to his friends. My mother, with tears of joy, would tell me how happy she was for me. My journey wasn't just about building guitars, it was about building a dream against all odds. It was about listening to that inner music, even when everyone else was telling me to tune it out. It was about trusting my hands, my heart, and my vision. Today, I am 35. Resonance Guitars is a renowned brand, celebrated for its unique designs and superior sound. We have a flagship store in Cambridge, just a few blocks from the pubs where Jason used to play my repaired guitar. Our instruments are played by musicians across the globe, from budding artists to rock legends. Sometimes, I walk through our factory floor, the air thick with the smell of wood and the hum of machinery. I see my team, focused and passionate, bringing my designs to life. I remember the quiet hum of the fluorescent lights in my old garage, the small, cluttered corner that was my first workshop. And sometimes, I visit Northwood University. I walk past the engineering faculty, past the lecture halls. I see the young students, heads bent over their books, carrying the weight of their own expectations. I see a young man, perhaps like me, doodling on the margins of his textbook, dreaming of a different kind of future. I remember my own leap of faith, the decision that everyone thought was madness. I remember the doubt, the struggle, the sleepless nights. And I know, with absolute certainty, that it was the best decision I ever made. Because passion, true passion, isn't just a feeling, it's a force. A force strong enough to rewrite your destiny, to build an empire from a single, quiet dream, and to prove that sometimes, madness is just another word for vision. My story is a testament to the power of following your heart, even when everyone thinks you're mad.